Welcome back to the AME television show. I am your host, Jason Dowd. We got a great show for you guys today. I have a couple more great guests coming up. You know, I'd love to be able to take you on some point of view excursions, but unfortunately, it has been raining like crazy. So I can't get out there and go to these really cool outdoor spots I want to take you to, but we do have them on a list for you. And I plan on bringing you those as soon as the weather clears up a little bit. So just thank you for being here with us and sharing what we have. Our guests are ready to talk to you and show you exactly what they got going on in their lives, and we hope that you will also be a part of that and go experience it with them. So before we get into anything, please check out our website. It's www.theamemagazine.com. You can check it out anytime you want. Go up there, be inspired. That's what it's for. We got 3 different platforms for you, so if reading something isn't your cup of tea, we got the television and the radio. If you don't like to watch something but you like to listen to it, we got the radio. If you like to read, we got the magazine. Regardless, there's ways to go out there and be inspired. All of our guests have walked the walk and talked the talk. They have great tips that they're going to provide you along the way. So I guarantee you it's definitely worth looking into. And especially if you're passionate about what you want to do and maybe you're feeling a little bit like, I just can't make it. They will help you get through that. If they can do it, you can do it too. And again, that is www.theamemagazine.com. And also, if you happen to be on YouTube, we would love for you to be able to comment about any of our guests below. We want you to comment about other things too. If you want to see something, I want to hear you. The only way I can do that is if you comment on these sites. Now, we do have a comment for you, a comment section for you on the AME television radio website. So go check that out as well and comment. We have to know what you're looking for in order to keep bringing it to you. Now, I do have a challenge for you. I want to talk to you guys really quick before we get into our show about memories. And one of the things that triggers my memory is music. Now, I'm going to tell you a quick story, and I want to hear something that music has done for you and maybe gives you a good memory for. There's a song that comes out by Elton John called Sad Songs Say So Much. Every time I hear this song, especially when I was younger, I kept getting this vision of me giving a horseback ride on an older guy. We were in I thought it was like a restaurant. I wasn't quite sure because it was under construction, but it looked like it was a nice restaurant that this guy was putting together, and me, my dad, and my brother were all there. So, I think it was around 2014, 15, something like that. I decided to ask my dad. I'm like, this is just too real to be able to say that it's just all made up in my head. So I asked my dad, I said, Dad, do you remember like this old guy I was getting a horseback ride from, piggyback ride, whatever you want to call it. And we were at this, I think a restaurant. I think it was, I want to say a seafood restaurant. Do you know anything about this? Because I keep getting a vision of this. And he said, yes, I do remember that. That was Gordie Howe. And he had a brand new restaurant that he was helping him consult on. And you got a ride on him. He wanted to give you a piggyback ride. I was like, wow. Now, if you don't know who Gordie Howe is, he happens to be one of the most legendary hockey players to ever step on the ice. He was a Detroit Red Wing, and he was also a Hartford Whaler. We were in Connecticut, so obviously that made sense. So that is my story. I want to hear yours. Comment it below, like us, share us, and follow us. We want to grow our viewership. We want to be able to reach more people. So please share below. Okay, so our first guest is a really exciting guest. His name is Papa Joe. This man came to his peak for his music. He had some dance music. It ranked number one actually, I don't know if it was number one, but I do know that it ranked in the top 50 of the Billboard Dance hit charts, and we're going to be talking to him about his brand new venture in the entertainment industry. He lost over 250 pounds by himself. He did it without a diet, and he wrote a book about it. So we're going to talk to him about his book and his brand new cartoon called The Electric Negro, which is it's an action-packed cartoon that's meant to be fun and gets a diverse amount of people involved. So it's got different powers, different cultures, and everything together. Let's go talk to Papa Joe right now. Well, that's our special guest. His name is Papa Joe. You know, he has a pretty amazing career throughout his lifetime so far, and his song was number 6 on the Billboard charts, which played around the clock on MTV and VH1. And now he has a brand new cartoon out called The Electric Negro, and I'm really excited to hear about this. It's very creative. Welcome to the show, Papa. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Great. Oh, thank you for coming on and being a part of this and talking about what you love to do the most. So,
thank you.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. I think let's start off with one of a pretty impressive milestone that you've had to yourself. You've lost 250 pounds in 18 months. That's pretty impressive, and it's definitely a goal for yourself that you were able to accomplish. So tell me, what made you decide to do this, and how did you do it in such a short amount of time?
Well, at the time, I was 450 pounds. I have been heavy all my life. Let me start off by saying that. I've been heavy all my life. But my weight had wound up, with the stresses of work, relationships, and life. I wound up getting up to 450 pounds.
Wow.
And I was really unhappy with myself. And then when I had an opportunity to do music, and then when it became a top 10 Billboard Dance hit, that's when I said that was my wake-up call, and I had to make a change. So I asked myself, what was the easiest exercise that I could do? And it was walking. So I grabbed my tennis shoes and my dance music, and I started walking up to 5 miles a day. What I would do in between that is that when the song was on the charts, it debuted at 24, and it went for 6 weeks to number 6. I would walk to a further newsstand to get the Billboard magazine to reward myself.
Wow.
And then by that time, I wound up walking up to 5 miles. And then I started doing it every day. And then I started eating healthier by shopping at a 99-cent only store here for fruits and vegetables, where I only spent $40 a week on food. So proving that you don't have to be wealthy to eat healthy. So with that, exercise and nutrition, I wound up losing 250 pounds.
Wow. Yeah. And you were inspired to do it, which is really, amazing, because sometimes people, they have to do it for their health, and they just don't feel enough to do something about it. But you did, and I love that.
Well, I always said I was 2 cheeseburgers away from a heart attack. And I mean that because it had gotten so bad that, I didn't have diabetes, I didn't have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, but I literally was, I was touching the surface of getting something. And it had gotten so bad, like when I went to the drive-thru, they knew my voice right off the bat. And they were like, "Hey, Papa Joe, the usual." And I was eating over 7,000 calories a day.
Ooh.
A late night binge session consisted of 2 Big Mac meals, large, a chocolate cake, a family-sized bag of Doritos, and the 2 Diet Cokes.
Wow.
And that was just a late night binge. That wasn't breakfast or lunch or dinner. It was double that, all of that. But what happened was I had to cut it. I had no nutritional background. And I went and grabbed a food pyramid off the internet. And I said, okay, this is what I can eat, and everything else I'm not. So what I did was, for 6 months, I stuck to the food pyramid and just ate stuff off of there for 6 months until I was able to train myself and to learn how to eat a little bit healthier on my own, which of course I've done so now. But in the time of the song and the Electric Negro, I wrote a book called Balancing the Scales. And it became it became a best-selling book on Amazon.
Wow.
So my very first song became a top 10 Billboard Dance hit. My very first book became a best-selling book on Amazon, and where I share my weight loss story. And now I have Electric Negro.
Well, I tell you what, you're a busy guy, aren't you?
Oh yeah.
But that's good. Yeah, we got to stay busy.
You know what it is for me? For me, this is what I say. It's not about the weight you lose. It's about the life you gain.
True.
And that's what it is for me. Like I said, I've been heavy all my life, and it has affected me in so many ways negatively that I just had to make a change. Even though someone said to me, and actually someone said this to me on a last interview. They said you weren't dedicated to being fat, and I said, you know what? No, I wasn't.
Yeah,
No,
that's very true.
I wasn't. I really wasn't. Most people, stay heavy and don't change, but I had to make the change. I had to. And I just felt it was, within me to do so. And I've done it naturally without any fad diets or gym or gastric bypass surgery, just hard work and determination.
Yeah.
And a little
most of the diets fail anyways. So
exactly, you know, and I believe me, I've tried them all.
mm-hmm.
I've tried them all, but none of them, none of them would stick. So I was just like, okay, I give up next, and try a new diet, and that would fail. But now I'm just eating regular food, and I lost the weight.
It's amazing what really goes into food. And when, I was talking to a nutritionist one time, and she says, it's amazing when you see on the boxes made with real meat and made
Yes.
with real stuff. It's like, what's fake meat? What
Thank
are they
you.
giving you?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, okay. But it's without all the chemicals and without all the preservatives and all that stuff like that, all the additives. Yeah. So you're getting real 100% beef.
Which is what we thought we were eating for this whole time anyways, but we were being duped.
Exactly.
You know?
But now we're moving on to bigger and better things. You know what I'm saying? So, but right now, I really want to educate and motivate people to just try to live a little bit healthier. It's not about, having a six pack or, you know, being on the cover of men's magazine or a women's magazine. It's just about being a little healthier so you can live a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm. And happier too.
And happier. I mean, I'm doing things now that I never could do. I went skydiving for the first time.
Wow.
Why? Because I'm under the weight restriction in order to do so. If you're 240 pounds or over, you can't skydive.
True.
So again, there's another thing that's holding you back. I love roller coasters, but I had gotten so heavy that I couldn't fit in the seat.
Mm.
I had gotten so heavy I couldn't even put the bar, even an extender wouldn't fit around me.
Wow.
Yeah. And literally, I cried, got off the ride, and went to the concession stand. I got a foot-long hot dog and a Diet Coke.
Yeah, and a lot of people do, eat because they are depressed.
Oh yeah. I mean, that was really big for me. I was just really miserable. I really was miserable. I didn't like myself. I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't feel loved. I didn't feel worthy enough. All the above. And now all of that's literally done a 180. It's just done a complete 360. It's full circle, but it's done a 180 in between because I'm living a new life now. I'm a brand new person.
Now, feeling better about yourself, did it help your ability to come up with new ideas and challenge yourself a little bit more?
Yeah.
If you're depressed, it's hard to do that.
Oh no, I challenge myself every time, because what happened was walking led to hiking, led to bike riding, led to parasailing, led to trying surfboarding, so I'm trying all these new activities now that I never could do.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm I did 75 miles on a bike. Never in my life would I think that I would do 75 miles anywhere. I mean, in a car, yes, but I mean, on a bike, no. And I did. So, I do challenge myself to take it a little further. One of my goals now is to run a marathon, and I want to cross that finish line.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we definitely wish you good luck with that because that's tough, but I know you can do it if you put your mind to it.
Thank you. So I said if I can do 75 on a bike, I can do 26.
Right. Exactly.
Easily.
So tell me a little bit about this new cartoon that you have. What was the inspiration behind it?
Well, it's a two-parter. One is part motivation because that's the nickname that I called myself during my transformation because I kind of call myself the superhero because Black Lightning was taken. So I'm like, all right, Electric Negro. So that, I was calling myself that for a while, and then somebody said you should turn this into a TV show, and then the light bulb went off again, and I'm like, ding. And so, yeah, the Electric Negro is controversial, unapologetic, thought-provoking, and hilarious. It's a new animated series that I'm bringing to television. Hopefully very soon. I'm in the last final stage of distribution, hopefully with discussions with some networks. And I have AJ McClain on board from the Backstreet Boys. I have Denzel Whitaker from Black Panther, who's signed on. And anybody that goes to electricnegro.com, I'm giving away free merchandise. There's shirts, hats, everything. It's all inclusive, and it's just about trying to get the word. I'm spreading the word and just letting people know there's a new Black superhero in town.
Well, I love it. I mean, you don't see a lot of them, unfortunately, and I think that's something that everybody can embrace now.
Well, that's what I want to do. I want to bring something fun and something edgy, but definitely something all inclusive. And basically, I want people to have conversations at the water cooler the next morning. Did you see that episode? Yes, I did. I mean, the point of the show is to basically celebrate our differences as well as celebrate our similarities as well.
And probably our successes along the way is, overcoming things.
Oh, of course. But the whole premise is that I want to make fun of it, obviously, because I'm calling myself Electric Negro. Everyone's like, oh my God, that's so serious. I'm like, no, it's not. It's funny. So I'm bringing joy to it. I'm bringing laughter to it. People always, when they see it, they're like, oh my God, that's so funny. I'm like, you get it. Thank you. And the other ones, those I'll work on later. But right now, the ones that get it, I'm sticking with those, and I'm running with those people because those are my people. But yeah, I've got tons of merchandise that I'm giving away online, and I'm just real excited about the project because it's been going on now for 3 years that I've been developing this, and now it's finally coming to fruition. And I'm just really happy to take it to the next level, and get it out there, and to be able to inspire and motivate someone else. Black Panther, and Black Lightning ain't the only ones out there.
That's true. Now, how did you come up with the characters, and what were some of the challenges with the animation? I mean, do you have a physical episode out where somebody can see what it's all about? And
I have a proof of concept video on electricnegro.com. They can just go to the website and go on the homepage. It's right there.
Was it who did the animation for you, or did you draw it yourself?
Oh no, I have a team. Trust me, I can't draw. I can't even draw a circle. Trust me, I cannot even draw a circle. I have a team of people, a team of animators right now that I'm crewing up basically all areas. Cast pretty much is open. Everybody's diverse. And I want to make sure that is said, shown through the TV show that it's a diverse cast.
So what do you hope happens from this once it actually hits television? How do you hope that it impacts the people that listen to it and view it and stuff?
I want them to laugh. I want them to learn. For anybody that's not African American, you're going to learn about African American culture, as well as the other people that are in my cast. You're going to learn about their culture as well. But then we're going to poke fun at it, like South Park. It's going to be edgier than South Park and funnier than American Dad or Family Guy.
Now, how do you come up with the comedy part of this? Is that something that you're writing and you just you're just naturally funny at it, or is it just something that you're?
I have a team. I have a team of writers. Okay. I have 3 writers right now. Well, what I'm doing is I'm doing the live action and I'm doing animation. So I'm doing 2 shows kind of running simultaneously at the same time under the same umbrella.
Well, that's kind of how things are going now anyways. They're doing it starts off with a cartoon and then they do a live action. But if you have both of them going at the same time, that saves you a lot of development as well. So, It's kind of, I like how you're doing that.
Plus, on top of that, whichever one sticks, I'm running with it. I'm like, you don't like this one? How about this one?
I like that. I like that a lot.
So, so I'm running with both shows. Yeah, I've got a team of writers. I got a team of animators. I've got everybody, camera crew. I've got production because I'm doing the live action on the side. I've got illustrators on the other side. I'm just like, yeah, trust me, I wear many hats on a daily basis.
Are you getting confused? Because for me, I think I'd be a little confused after a little while.
Well, it does because I'm switching back and forth between the two shows because we're trying to prep for it and be able to pitch it because I'm pitching it hopefully in 2 weeks.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Well, I tell you what, we are running out of time. This sounds amazing. Tell everybody a little bit more about where they can find it again and how they can see it and how they can support you in this as well. Yeah,
go to electricnegro.com. Also, you can check out my book on Amazon called Balancing the Scales, as well as if you want to check me out on Instagram, it's at Papa Joe Aviance or at the Electric Negro on Instagram. Make sure you follow. And yeah, I'm sharing the journey and bringing it to light. So, yep. And that's where all my info is, and that's where you can find me.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're a very inspirational guy. You're doing amazing things with yourself. You've changed your life around to be the person you want to be. And that's all we can ask for. And sometimes it's harder for us to do it, but you're able to do it. And that can inspire other people to do the same. So thank you for sharing your story and being a part of this. And,
thank you so much.
We wish you all the best. And I can't wait to see it on television. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. Me too.
Well, thank you for coming on and being a great guest. We wish you all the best. And I'm going to continue to watch this and see when it comes out on television. I'll definitely hit you up and say congratulations when it happens.
Thank you. Please, yeah, check it out. And let's stay in touch.
Absolutely.
All right now.
And guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back in about 3 minutes. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this. All right, I'm going to stop the recording. What do you want? You want Gladys Goodies? You want to try chicken? How about turkey? You want to try turkey? You never tried sweet potato before. How about we give you a sweet potato? It might help your stomach. You do? Well, there's only one place to get it, and that is GladysGoodies.com, where you can get the chicken, the turkey, the sweet potato, salmon, beef, and more. Should we show them the website one more time so they know where to get it? Well, I'm going to listen to Puppy, so here's the website. If you want all natural, healthy treats with no chemicals, byproducts, or other harmful ingredients, GladysGoodies.com is the place for you. We got the treats and the swag to make their tails wag.
If you liked the show today, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, share, and comment below. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook at The AME Experience, also Twitter at The AMEEX, and of course you can find us at www.theamemagazine.com. All right, guys, we are back. I hope you really enjoyed our talk with Papa Joe. Now, my next guest is Camille Harris, and I have a lot of fun with her because, you know what? She's talking about her children's music. And I know that when kids hear music, they are 10 times likely to become more productive. They also learn better, and they are also more creative. So I love when we talk about children's music because I know firsthand what it can do for them. She has a brand new album called Baby on the Subway. And I am really excited to talk to her about this particular album that she has out because, you know, you can do so much with children's music and it can go in so many different directions. Let's talk to Camille right now about this and let's have some fun.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. We have on the line with us through Skype a very special guest. Her name is Camille Harris. She is a jazz artist. And we don't talk to too many jazz artists, so I'm excited to have her on here and tell us about this whole new world of jazz. Well, it's not really new. It's been around for, probably centuries, but we love it. We love to talk about new stuff, and we're going to introduce you to it if you don't know what jazz is. And she has a brand new CD out called Baby on the Subway. So We're going to talk to her about that and more. So welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm good. I'm in sunny Brooklyn.
Brooklyn,
my
wow.
apartment. Yeah.
I know that area very well up there. I was born and raised out of Connecticut, so we were in New York all the time.
Oh, awesome.
I love the areas up there.
Yeah, I really love living here. I'm pretty happy here, so I'm glad to be here. Thanks
Well,
for having me on your show.
Well, thanks for coming on. And you can't be at a better spot for jazz. I mean, New York is just loaded with the places to play.
Yeah, it's pretty special here. I really love all my friends I just went to one of my good friends' wedding. He plays saxophone, and it was all jazz musicians, and it was such a good jam session around the campfire. It's really fun. It's just being around people who kind of love the same music and have the same understanding of music that I do, or that I mean, they're all even smarter than me and know more about it than me. But it's really fun to just be around so many amazing musicians that I can call up at any time, and just like a really diverse crowd. There's just all different types of jazz. You know, there's kind of this like R&B jazz world that a lot of my friends do, and then there's one of my friends has an Ethiopian funk band. You know, I do this what I call silly jazz. Well, this is one of my projects, and it's just jazz kind of that happens to be for kids. You know, it started by being jazz that I would sing because I was also a stand-up comedian for 8 years, and so I stopped doing that. But when I was kind of combining the two worlds, because they're really similar in the way that you workshop things and the community, you know, like it's a very community driven, both of those arts are kind of community driven. You go, you know, the people around you and you're working on your individual art, while also collaborating. So that's one thing I really like about both comedy and jazz. And now I'm just mostly doing singing and doing jazz music and teaching piano and performing around the city and gigging. And I stopped doing the comedy, but I love being in this space that has everything that I could want. I really like living here. Yeah.
Well, it's really cool that you're doing this with kids, because I believe that a diverse sounds of anything that we learn, diversity is so much fun. And if we're always stuck to just one certain genre of music or anything like that, we don't appreciate it a lot. So as a child, this is where they can really learn it and understand it really well. And, you know, that's a great opportunity for them.
It's, you know, also kids have a really amazing ability to understand and kind of absorb really kind of complicated musical ideas. Little kids really like classical music, and they also like jazz. And I think it's because their minds are just so open to accepting kind of anything that they hear. They haven't been conditioned yet to think, oh, this is too complex for me, that they just enjoy it kind of naturally. I've been to some really kind of out there free jazz stuff, and there's been a little kid there, and they're just way in it, and they just dance to it, and they have the freedom of the mind to just accept anything that they hear, really, and so then they're able to absorb it in kind of a really almost like a hyper intelligent way that I think a lot of adults kind of just don't allow to happen. You know, it's like, oh, that's too hard for me, or that's too much, or that's weird, but they don't have that, so they end up kind of accepting it in a really open, and I don't know. I love performing jazz for kids because they like it, you know?
Sure.
And they will laugh. Like when my friend Wayne will play trumpet, right? And he'll play something silly on the trumpet, because a lot of jazz is, I think, funny. Sometimes solos are funny. You know, they're kind of either weird or they're actually funny, or they will reference something that you know, and then it is kind of funny to laugh at. But little kids will laugh at that same stuff too, and almost will laugh more than an adult will, because an adult thinks that they need to take it seriously. But kids don't know that yet, and I obviously don't take very much seriously. So, so it works really well for my show that I do, which is called Silly Jazz with Camille.
Well, I'll tell you what. I want to get people that don't know what jazz is. They should know what jazz is, but they may not understand it. You know, it's like when I used to have friends that were playing heavy metal music. And we went to his death metal, and I was talking to him afterwards, and they're like, I told him we went to a death metal concert. Like, oh, was that like rock or heavy metal? Like, no, it's completely different genre. So sometimes people would get an idea of what it might be, but we want to get them an idea of what it actually is. So tell us, what is jazz? How can you describe it?
I guess as a whole, how will I say this? Jazz, I think what people think jazz is maybe the traditional jazz or trad jazz. It's just like what you hear at Christmas time, you know, It's a marshmallow world in a city, you know, that Dean Martin will sing, or kind of this very specific live sound, which is a rhythm section, which is made up of drums and piano or guitar or both, and a bass, either guitar or a contrabass, like a stand upright bass. And so and then with horns and all these live instruments. And so a lot of people think of jazz as almost maybe cheesy or this kind of very like, I don't know, for some reason, some people think kind of Christmas time, that's jazz, that kind of sound that we hear, because there's a lot of great jazz songs that are Christmas songs that are kind of part of the canon, the Christmas song canon. And then, or people think that it's just kind of weird, right? So with fusion, or this time that happened in the late 70s, or even the 70s, 80s, right? Which was a combination of which Miles Davis kind of started and then went on. Like, I'm a big Pat Metheny fan, and there's all these musicians who started experimenting with the genre, right? Because jazz is a very American sound, and kind of what it is just, and honestly, it used to just be pop music, you know? Really? Like, it was just what the pop music was. The 40s and 50s, that's what the popular music was. It wasn't, right now we have what we think of as pop music, but a lot of jazz songs that are called standards, they originated in musical theater, which I have a background in also. And they came from those musicals as kind of like a single, right? So they would write these musicals, and then that would be the single. And you would go to the place and listen to someone play it on piano and buy that sheet music so you can play it at your own house. Or when they started having records or vinyl, you would go and purchase, that song, because that was the pop music of the time. And now that it's become kind of more of a niche, different, it's just a different type of genre. But it's very American. It's specifically, it originated here, right? Because it's a mixture of a bunch of different sounds. It came from South America, came from Africa with the slaves. There's, if you go back into musicology class from college, they always show there's a couple places in Africa where the music that people still perform sounds like the root of like the blues, the tonal structure of the scales, the technical part sounds kind of like how we have the blues. And so that ended up coming over and coming from the South. And then there's New Orleans jazz, which is those big horns, and that's where the drum kit was made, right? Because there was always two people playing the drums, and then someone decided to combine them. And so now then it came from there. So, and then up in Harlem, that's where all the kind of the jazz age, where we think of like the 20s, where that, I don't know if it clicked away, but my phone made a notification. But anyway, sorry to got distracted. But that came in, New York. So it's this amazing, is an American genre. And basically a lot of the way that people play jazz is that the chord structures, the different chords that you play, there's maybe more chords than in pop music, right? So, but it has a specific structure in the same way a pop song does. And so then what ends up happening is people, not only are you just doing your basic like do, do, do chord, what ends up happening is we have the extensions of that. So it's like do, 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 all the way up to get all the notes kind of that are available. And then understanding how all those notes go together, then you make these really like crunchy chords that we think of as jazz chords. And it's just, jazz is just a way to play with music that is maybe a little more complex, sure, but it's but the reason it has that sound is because it has those extra notes in the chord than just regular pop music. And it also plays with the way that we expect chords to hear, so sometimes it's unexpected in the way that it goes. But a lot of it originated as a pop genre, which is interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah, and the musicals, is a lot of these songs that we hear that are, jazz songs, that song like All of Me, Why Not Take All of Me? There's these famous songs that we always hear. They all actually have a verse or an introduction that were in the musical usually, right? Almost like the recitative, which is what we call in an opera. And so they all have these amazing intros that people don't end up even singing that much. There are some that people know. For example, Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered, people sometimes sing, which that's like bewitched, bothered, and bewildered am I, which sometimes you hear. There's certain ones that people do sing, but mostly we don't do that because those have gone away. And so what we call it is we end up having the chord structure or the head, like a head, like that's the main melody of the song. And then using the chords that go with that main melody, that's when then people improvise. And so jazz is an improvised medium. So people will improvise on the chords that come from that. And so that's kind of what makes it unique, is that it's using the theory or just using your ear to play along with the chord changes, so that you hear it go and hear it change as you play. And that's what makes jazz so interesting, is that then there's always a section where people improvise. Like in rock music, they do that in rock. You know, the improvisation is not specific to jazz, but it is kind of the foundation of what makes it jazz, I guess. Whereas rock and roll, you can have a song without a solo, and I guess you could in jazz as well too. But I think that a lot of it, the improvisation, is what then led to figuring out more parts of the chord, as I was talking about earlier, which then led to creating these different sounds, which, you know, kind of it all snowballed to make what it is today. So I don't know if that's a good explanation. I maybe should have written it down before, but like, what is jazz? I guess it's just the most American, I think, type of music that exists. And now, of course, all around the world, everyone loves jazz too.
Sure.
Oh, and as a white musician, white people ended up kind of appropriating it for a while, and then now we still perform it. It was originally a black genre of music. Like, it came from slaves. It started that way, and people in the South. And it's just and in that way, it's American, because it just is specific to what happened in our country, with the way that people were stolen from their homes, and then they came here, and then they got that, and then, you know, all of that is why jazz is an American thing. It's pretty cool. I love jazz, obviously.
Oh yeah, you could tell. I could see it just oozing out of you from.
I don't even talk about it that much like this, but I do love it. I don't play guitar, but some of my favorite jazz musicians are guitar players.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm learning guitar, but I don't play it like a jazz guitar. But I love it, even though I play piano. And I also
so when did you get involved with it? When did you discover jazz and say, this is something I'd like to try to do?
Well, I think growing up, I always listened to jazz music with my parents. With my mom likes it, but my dad really likes Pat Metheny, as I do too, the jazz guitar player. And I always would listen to that in my room as a little kid. I didn't end up listening. I listened to a lot of eclectic music, and I didn't end up listening to a lot of the pop music that was out at the time. I missed the Beatles, even though my mom loves the Beatles. I really gravitated always toward jazz music. And I took piano since I was 4.5. And around middle school, I guess high school, I remember I auditioned for jazz band for high school, and I did not get in freshman year. And then I auditioned again, I guess sophomore year, and I got in, which was very exciting for me. And I ended up going, I think it was after sophomore year of high school, I went to this jazz theory boot camp at Denver University, because I'm originally from Boulder, Colorado. And that was really exciting. That's where I started getting really into music theory, because my piano teacher, Carol, she kind of introduced these concepts to me, and I really loved math, and I also really love music theory, and they're kind of similar in the way that you think about it, in that, you know, with math, is not just the beginning and the end. You know, you show your work in the middle, and that's where kind of the magic and the make, like, how did it happen? And that's one reason I love music theory, because it's like, how did that happen, and why did that song go that way? Like, you can go back and look at it, and I love that. And so it was in high school, really. Yeah. So I did that. And then I did Rocky Mountain Vocal Jazz Camp when I was, I guess, going into senior year. And it was only for a week, which is the longest I'd ever been away from my parents. It was a sleepover camp in Bailey, Colorado. And the New York Voices, who is a vocal jazz group based out of New York, and as well as the a cappella group Impact, that's been around for a while, they ran that camp. And it was, you know, pretty life-changing for me. And that's where I learned how to write charts. And that's where I learned what vocalese is. Like, when you put in jazz, vocalese is different than when you talk about it in opera. But in jazz, vocalese is where you put words to famous solos. And that's where I learned all these, like, basically what it was to be a jazz musician. So I went to that camp a couple times. Then I was a counselor at that camp. And that camp was very formative for me. And I was deciding between doing jazz school or doing musical theater school, and I chose I got into musical theater school at Emerson College, so I went that way. But I ended up meeting a bunch of really cool jazz musicians who went to Berkeley when I was in Boston, and that's where I had learned a lot about musical theater that I hadn't known before. And I realized that the roots of jazz came from musical theater, or in terms of the songs, most of the songs that we call standards. And then from there, when I moved to New York, I became, I was going to audition for Broadway. I didn't do that. I ended up just becoming a stand-up comedian and a musician. And I love it. And I'm happy to be doing that.
Well, I love that you're able to actually infuse comedy into jazz and
Yeah.
make what you've done today. So tell me a little bit about that. How do you merge comedy and music together?
Well, I mean, did music, comedy, and also stand-up for a while. Oh, here, this is the CD. I have it next to me. But it's funny because these songs that I wrote that are on this kids album, I wrote initially when I was a stand-up comedian, and I would have my music aspect to my set. And it's funny because I wrote them for adults. There's a song about procrastination that's untitled because I haven't gotten around to finishing it, and I have to finish the lyrics, but I'll finish them at one point. But it's just, for now, it's what it is, So that's like this one. This is a really long, dumb joke. And Baby on the Subway is the title track, and that's just this funny song I wrote about loving babies on the subway that I wrote. I think IFC and College Humor did this thing called Comedy Music Hall of Fame, and I wrote it for that as like the submission because I was one of the people that was in that. And Muffin Man was the one that I wrote in college as a joke about the Muffin Man, and being in love with the Muffin Man. And it's just basically because that's, I think, the way that I was writing music. I wanted to write songs that I thought were good songs instead of just basic pop songs, because I was already writing that type of song anyway. And then I just had these ideas. Oh, I learned who Tom Lehrer was. Do you know who he is?
No.
He was a professor at Harvard who wrote really funny songs. I think in the 50s. I actually don't remember. I should look up when he was around, but 50s, 60s. And he... probably 70s. I should do more research on him because I did, but now I don't remember things. But I heard some of his really funny songs, and I loved the wordplay, and I like puns, and I like kind of dumb humor like that. I guess people call it dad jokes or stuff, but they work really well in songs, actually. Something about having a pun that would be a groan in real life when it's in a song and someone singing it with a good voice, it's funnier. I don't know why exactly. But people like it.
Now, what about kids and how are they?
If you kindergarten is the communist.
Oh, I'm
What'd
sorry,
you say?
you froze up for a second.
I'm listening. Oh, sorry about that.
No problem.
What were you asking?
How are kids taking to the comedy and the jazz? Are they liking this album that you put out?
Yeah, it's fun because I showed that procrastination song to my friend's daughter. And she laughed in all the places that adults laugh in, which was kind of fun because she somehow got the concept. Whenever I perform it, I tell them what the word procrastination means because they don't know, which makes sense. It's a big word. But I explain to them, and then they understand the joke, which is kind of fun. And, I'm silly and goofy on stage too, so it works. They laugh at that. The kids are such an easy laugh. And I also, I have special jokes for the parents too. It's not just for the kids, but they end up liking it. They get it. I don't know. Little kids laugh. They want to laugh, and they wake up, and that's kind of something that they're looking for. They want to laugh, but they want to play all the time, and laughing is just part of play. And so this, making them laugh is pretty easy. They're a pretty easy crowd, basically, because they are looking. They want to do something goofy. They want to see you flail your arms around. I have the song Jiggly Wiggly where it's just you flail your arms around, and they love it. They always laugh really hard at it. Yeah, they like it. It's fun because I didn't know how people would like the CD. I mean, I think it's very good music. It's really good quality players. Everyone's so good at music who played on this album, and I think that it sounds great. But I didn't know how little kids were laugh at silly stuff, but they want to dance around to stuff like that.
Sure.
But I also didn't personally want any baby elements in it. Sometimes there's chimes, which is also cool. Little kids love that. Basically, kids always they get more of the humor than we think they do, even if their sense of humor is a little different. And so that's why I love combining jazz, and I just like to play to the highest denominator, instead of just to the lowest. I think that's part of it too.
No, I totally get that. I mean, anytime, it's fun, and it's fun to watch kids smile and laugh. I mean, I think that's probably one of the most enjoyable parts of anything. I mean, there's nothing like a kid's laughter.
Yeah, I know. And imagine a crowd of them laughing.
And what's even cooler is when adults get it too. I don't know if you've ever watched SpongeBob SquarePants, but I've watched that show. I used to love that show. It was crazy, a crazy sponge. but most of the stuff was completely adult in the way that they would, throw the joke out there. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, how do kids understand that? But they still laugh at it.
Yeah.
And I think it's how they present
the full joke, but they're getting the comedy.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
It's like, Mr. Krabs one time said, SpongeBob, you're going to be working late with no extra pay. And he slaps up against the door and he's so happy. And it's like, that's funny. But on the other side of it, we know what that's like. That's terrible.
I know. That's so funny. Yeah. I mean, the shows like that, I think, are pretty cool. That's the thing is little kids get that, and if it's enjoyable for the parents too, that's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're running out of time. I want to be able to tell everybody where they can hear where they can hear your music, where they could see it, where they could buy it. And are you touring? Are you doing any tours with it at all?
I will be touring next spring. And I think I'm going to be touring with my friends, the Pizza Collective, which is these two guys who live in Philly who write pizza, who put lyrics about pizza to every song. So I think that we're going to try to do a joint tour. And so I'll be figuring that out. That'll be on my website, which is CamilleHarris.net. And you can see my Baby on the Subway video is on YouTube. It's called Baby on the Subway. I have the music video for the song Monster Under My Bed. That's not on this album, actually, but it's on my previous one. And that is on dailymotion.com, which is like YouTube, but I had won a grant from them, so it's for them exclusively. And then Baby on the Subway is on YouTube. YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, all the places that you can look for it. So it's officially out. It was out September 13th is when the release date is. So it's I'm pretty excited for everyone to hear it.
Well, I am so glad you're able to come on here and spend some time with us and talk about what you love to do the most. And I could see it in your eyes. I mean, that's so much fun when you're doing stuff that you love and you're making a difference around the world and making people laugh and be entertained for a little bit, gets rid of that humdrum day. So,
right.
And you taught me a little bit about jazz too, which I appreciate a lot.
I hope it was
good. And thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's wonderful meeting you.
All right, everybody, we are back. We're closing out the show. I'm so glad you spent some time with me today. I love doing this. I love going on all these adventures. I love talking to such amazing people, giving you point of view adventures. That's what this whole AME television show is all about. But we're not just limited to what we're talking about with arts. We're also going to bring in politics. We're going to bring in different points of view. This is really an eclectic show. So I hope you continue to tune in because we've got some more guests coming up in the near future. So before you go, check out our website. It's www.theamemagazine.com. When you're there, you'll be able to see all the links to all of our shows, the radio, television, and magazine. If you miss something, it's there. Go be inspired. You can also see the links to our social media networks, our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also sign up for our newsletter and download our apps on our Apple or Android platform completely free so you can see what's in the know and have the AME experience in your hands at all times. So until then, guys, we have more coming up. I know you're not gonna want to miss it. Keep checking the website to see who we got coming out, and keep those creative juices flowing. We'll see you on the next adventure. If you liked the show today, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, share, and comment below. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook at The AME Experience, also Twitter at The AMEEX, and of course you can find us at www.theamemagazine.com.
Like, OMG, you were on TV and junk.